What really matters at the end of life? On this video, I want to share a perspective with you that very few people take the time to consider, but can have a massive impact on the quality of our life and the way that it unfolds on this incredible journey that we call Earth School. It's often said that if something is inevitable, then don't really pay too much attention to it. But when it comes to death, so many people have a disempowering relationship to what they think it is, or they don't have a context for it, or they completely put it aside and never take the time to actually think about what is ultimately inevitable. Because one of the facts of reality remains is that everything in the physical universe is subject to the law of impermanence. What does that mean? It means that by the very definition of something being physical, its destination is non-physical. So I don't care if you have a relationship with your loved ones, your family, your business, your material possessions, or your body. At some point, that is going to end. And the people that have the most empowering life are people that understand or have an empowering context for what death means, knowing that it's inevitable. So if you see life as, oh, it's just this process of struggle and effort and then you die, then you're not going to have a great experience in this incredible journey. But if you start to realize that there's a purpose behind why we're here. How do you find that purpose? One of the best ways to do it is speak to people that have walked most of that path. If you spend time in any hospice, if you spend time around people that are coming to terms with their own mortality, that maybe have weeks, days, or even hours to live, and you ask them, what is this about? You'll get an insight that'll transform your current perspective. I've been around people that are very close to death, and almost every single one has come to a place of peace, come to a place of acceptance. And from there, they can speak from a place of truth, not a place of fear or resistance. And when you ask the question, what's most important? What do you find? Well, here's what I know. Not once have I ever asked that question and heard the following. Oh, I think what's important is please go find me right now my mahogany framed MBA certificate. Please run out of this hospital deathbed and go grab me the picture of my first Ferrari. Please go get me my stock certificates of when I made my first million. You never hear that. No, what do you hear? You hear this. Please go fetch me the people that I love the most so that I can tell them one more time that I love them. What does the game become, guys? What are you really doing what you're doing for? Is it to try to prove to yourself that you can be the richest man and the woman in the graveyard? Or is it to be able to go through this experience of what I call Earth School, becoming a person who evolves to a place of being able to give more love and less fear, come from less judgment and more heart? Isn't that what it's all about? Go to evolution. What does evolution tell us over 400 million years of fossil records? See, the process of evolution is showing us that life is always evolving into ever more higher levels of complexity. You take an amoeba, a single cell, and you take a human body of trillions of cells. Very different organism, but there's one key distinction. If you take trillions of amoebas and one food source, what do you have? War. If you take a human body and one food source, what do you have? Harmony and cooperation. You don't suddenly have the liver taking up arms against the spleen to try to get more hemoglobin. You don't see the heart negotiating with the brain as to which is going to get more glucose. No, none of that happens. See, the key word to making this entire evolution possible is this: cooperation. And if you extrapolate the word cooperation to its logical conclusion, you hit one word, my friends: love. And that is the conclusion that you'll hear from everybody at the end of their life. I wish I'd been more loving. I wish I'd spent more time with the people I cared about. Not, I wish I'd just spent that extra hour in the office to finish that spreadsheet. Are you kidding me? No. What matters most at the end of life? It's a pretty simple equation. Any one of those people, if you ask them, what would you do differently if you went back? Again, same story. It's not, oh, I'd work harder. It's, I'd take more time out for myself to love myself. I'd take more time out to express that love to other people I care about, and I'd take more chances. I'd swing the bat at life in a different way. I wouldn't be so scared. See, people at the end of their life don't regret what they've done. It's too late for that. Most of them regret what they haven't done. What is it that you're doing right now that is preventing you from following the path of what really matters most. Who are you showing up as today as that loving person, not the person you think you should show up as at the end of the game? And when we come from that place, every day is magical. Every path we walk here with every step becomes a wonderment. Forget the story that's out there, forget the drama that's out there. You can walk amongst them with an entirely different attitude of not being affected by them. Go play the game of life. And I'm gonna leave you with one story. I had the very good fortune of spending time with Nando Parada, who was part of the Uruguayan rugby team on their fateful trip to Paraguay in the 1970s, where their plane got caught up in a storm, hit a mountain, broke in half, most of the people died, and a few survived. In fact, there was a Hollywood film made about it some years later called Alive. And that story of survival not only galvanized what's great about the human spirit, but also shared a very powerful lesson. See, after just under 2 weeks, as the battery was running out on the radio in the cockpit of the plane that they were listening to, trying to coordinate or have hope and faith for the search effort to find them, they heard the unthinkable. The search was being called off, all presumed dead. They were hundreds of miles from civilization, up in freezing temperatures, with nothing much more than the rugby kit that they were wearing. No food. They ended up having to eat the people that were dying in order to survive. And at the end of that, after 3 months almost of being in that situation, Nando led the effort with one of the other players to walk to freedom across the mountains. And eventually they were discovered, and eventually they were rescued. But the lesson is this: he got to see something that you and I will probably never ever get to see. He got to see what life was like 3 months after his own funeral. Imagine that. And he said it taught him an incredible lesson, a lesson I want to share with you today. It taught him what really mattered most. For a start, he went back and his father was the only surviving member of the family. Nando was actually sitting in row 9 of the plane, and his mother and his sister were sitting in row 10. When the plane hit the mountain, the plane broke in half at rows 9 and 10. His mother and his sister fell back down the mountain and were killed, and he and some of the other players fell forward down the mountain and miraculously survived by hitting a snowbank, which killed both of the pilots. When he got back home after 3 months, his father was already living with somebody else. Why? Because he was so desperately craving connection, he'd gone to live with a woman who actually showed him some love to fill that void. There was a picture of him left on the television with his mother and sister. All of his stuff was in a box that had been put in the attic. Nothing else was left. And it made him ask the question, wow, did my life really matter? What matters most in life? And it's at that point he realized the lesson which I'm sharing with you today. If you wait till the end of your life to start being more loving, if you wait till the end of your life to start wishing you'd spent more time expressing more of who you are and your gifts to the world, rather than living in fear or chasing the next buck or trying to get the next quarterly goal, then you miss the message. What matters most in life, my friends? It all comes down to love. The real question is, what are you going to do with that awareness now, having had the privilege of being able to get it at this part of your life? Remember, old age is a privilege that is denied to many. And if you're lucky enough to be able to walk that path into longevity, don't waste it. Go out today and express yourself to somebody who you've either not forgiven, not spoke to, or just want to say that you love them without any expectation of what they give in return. And I promise you, do that every day, and this journey becomes far more enjoyable than the grindstone that most people waste their life on. I love you guys. If you like this video, please click the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, leave a comment below about what you took out of this and what you're going to do different. And I'll see you on another video soon.